Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us tonight on this edition of the Premium Business Masterclass. My name is Khutsafalo, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this special edition of today's programming. I know you're going to enjoy it because we have a lot to share with you in this production brought to you by Launches Studios in partnership with the Stanbic Bank of Botswana and Holland Life Botswana. The reason we broadcast this to you all over YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is because we know these are the kind of conversations that are going to help you in your career and also in your business. So if you're out there watching this and you have this dream of one day wanting to start a business or want to build a career that's going to be beneficial to you, this is the show that you have to watch tonight. Invite someone to watch, invite someone to be a part of this. If you have any questions or comments relating to what we're going to be talking about, please put those on the chat box down below so that we can be able to address them as the show happens. Let's take a quick break. When you come back, we're going to be diving straight into the show. We'll be right back.
Our wide range of insurance products guarantee to get you and your loved ones back on track when life hits a short left. Better futures start with Holland.
And let's look at the news making headlines right here in the Republic of Botswana and also around the world. It's amazing because a lot of things keeps happening, and this in this segment that we're doing, we're going to take the time to actually explain to you what all these big headlines actually mean. And for those of you who always see them being published by the media, but you don't know exactly the gravity of the impact that they're having on your community, even if it's happening somewhere around the world, it's going to affect you some way. And this is why we take the time to explain them to you in a manner in which you can also get it. So let's start right here in the Republic of Botswana. I think it's fair that we start with the crowning of the new Miss Botswana 2022, Lesego Chombo, an amazing young woman whom everybody talks so many different things about her. And I think the most greatest thing here is her faith in God and in Jesus. Not only just believing because she can be there, but something that she lives to talk about with her own mouth, telling everyone and also praising the name of the Lord in her journey. Now, here's the thing. I know how big this is because you look at the former Miss Botswana, and it hurts my heart to call her former Miss Botswana, Palesa Molefe, who's done an incredible work. Since the day we heard her name to every moment when she was representing the Republic of Botswana all over the world, and also some of the amount of work that she was doing right here as Miss Botswana. I think primarily I know she was doing her Beauty with a Purpose project, which is which was a platform in which she was now giving education to students and also the teachers and the parents on emotional intelligence, a very important thing in our generation today. So it's critical for us to really understand and know how all of this work through the Miss Botswana organization and also the partners and the queens themselves who are in it is contributing to the economy of the country and also to the well-being of it. One of the things that is always key to me that I've seen Palesa do for so many years, not for me, for so many months that I've been privileged to see what she's doing up close, is the kind of a person that she is and the kind of a platform that she has provided for us to unite in her, completely secure and completely rested in knowing that we are Botswana, we are one. And all of this is an inspiration that has shown us that the talent alone, plus the grace of God, can do so much work for you. And this is the time to say thank you, Palesa, for every single thing that you've done. I know with the foundation that you've just launched now, for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, she has a new foundation, an amazing foundation that's going to continue the work in which she has done. I think you've been seeing companies appreciating her doing all of this. Let the work keep going on because the next chapter for Palesa Molefe is going to be great. There's going to be a new docu-series that's going to be launched that covers the story of Palesa Molefe. Talk about monetize, not really monetize, just riding on the Indian lady. I know I've seen her training them for the Miss Botswana at Project 124, the kind of a person that she is, the command in her voice, the brilliance in her mind, and most importantly, such an amazing human being, very down to earth. She's a beauty queen, but she's very relaxed. Like you wouldn't even think she's in the Miss Botswana. Now, this is the kind of a person that we need because they don't mind putting away all of these high heels and all the nails and do the work itself. She's also passionate about emotional intelligence and mental health, and she has her own project within the Beauty with a Purpose project that she's going to be doing here in Botswana. Hopefully, even when she gets to the part of the Miss World, she's going to be doing amazing work. One of the things that she did, Lesego has been doing this work even before Miss Botswana pageant itself this year started. So I think we have a better chance to see the track record of what she's done, even beyond her reign as Miss Botswana. Now let's look at the other news. Let's move on to the story that broke today. It's not a story per se. It's just an announcement from the government of Botswana to say they want to forgive you one more time for spending more money on the fuel. Now, I was telling one of my friends here that, you see, before when I was fueling my tank, if my tank is literally on zero, which happens because I am an entrepreneur. And also I'm just like you, I'm one of those people that drives a lot around the city because of the amount of work that we do. We do hit. So when we put 200 pull on the tank. This 200 pull I use to go to half tank. I know some of you have a car you drive. I mean, I never see my car in my page. But anyway, that's besides the point. The main point here is Botswana is trying as much as they can to make sure that 200 puller hits the half tank that it used to. A few weeks ago, when you put 200 puller on my tank, it was going to go for quarter tank. And right now with 175 tebe down today, is a kudos to the Republic, the government of Botswana, for continue to seeing how best they can subsidize the cost of fuel. And for those of you who are seeing the impact of the Russia-Ukraine on the prices of fuel, oil, and every production of everything that we are depending on them, some of these things that we celebrate to say, hey, government is doing well, we need to always count the cost of how do they afford to do this. It's not an easy decision to make, but to reduce the price of fuel twice, that's something to commend. Today I put 200 on my tank, and it's almost at half tank. I think we can do that. But while we're still here, I have a question. The last time we increased the transport fares for people in public transportation, it's because the prices of fuel increased. Yeah, and we did that twice. Within the same month, we did that twice. There was a time taxi was just $5, now it went to $6, and now it went to $7. I think, is it still $7 now? Taxi? $8, right? But now here's the thing. The question I want to ask the government of Botswana to really explain to us here is, why don't we have a proper relationship between the transport fares and fuel prices? Because when the fuel goes up, the transport fares also goes up. But now it's gone down twice. Don't you think maybe it's just the time to also reconsider? I know we will be affecting the small businesses in the taxi and public transport. They may not like what I'm saying, but look at the cost of living for the majority of the people that use public transport to commute around the city, to do every single else thing that they need to do per day. I'm thinking maybe we reconsider this, because here's the thing. Even as you have decreased the fuel prices twice, which is commendable, the next time all the other elements and factors are going to force us to increase the fuel prices from what it is now by another percentage, you might be having the other pressure of having to increase this already high transport fares for those people. Now, you'll not be paying 8 pula, you'll be paying 10 pula. But you can't be having where this goes up and then goes up, and when it goes down, this one keeps going up. No, I don't think that's a good idea, unless I'm not as informed as you are. And this is why these conversations, we have to have them, so that we really understand why do we drive these prices here and why don't we drive them on the other side. Anyway, let's move on to international. And not people this like, yeah, tell them. Don't say it. Stop saying those. Let's look at the news internationally, and let's go to the United Kingdom, the place where they have had 3 prime ministers within 2 months. Yeah, a few weeks ago, to be honest, there used to be a prime minister. His name was Boris Johnson. Was the prime minister of UK during the COVID times. He's done all the amount of work that needed to be done to first sustain the economy of UK and also to survive to the COVID pandemic itself and also the nation. He did a few mistakes here and there. He attended certain parties during the lockdowns and all of that, and some of the scandals costed him his job. And we saw Liz Truss, the prime minister, for only 44 days while she was in office. And she resigned, and the question that was considering recalling Boris Johnson into office. And immediately when we announced all of this, because that's what the whole world was talking about, we saw Boris Johnson himself declining his position as the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK. And this is on the 23rd of October this month. And there's a new guy who came in, Rishi Sunak, who on the 24th of October was appointed to be the leader of the Conservative Party. And a few days ago, he became the prime minister of UK. For some of you are asking yourself a lot of questions because you look at how he looks like. First of all, he's an Indian. And people were like, India is taking over. Yeah, it is. But here's the thing, before you talk about India, Rishi himself, he may be of Indian descent, but he's actually coming from Kenya. Yeah, the world today has world leaders, two of them, who were originally from Kenya. One was Barack Hussein Obama, and now we have Rishi Sunak. Just a bit for you to really understand who Rishi is. This guy himself is about 42 years old, which is amazing. His net worth is 730 million pounds. Make that 830 million pula. Don't you think this is where we need to go as Botswana? Because a lot of times we get criticized as Africa that when we vote leaders, most of those people, they don't have any track record of what you've done for themselves and what they can do for the economy, and most of them go into the power hungry, and this is why they do what they do. It's inspiring. I think we have to learn from these stories to see countries appointing people that are able to drive the economy because they know what they're talking about. This guy was he was working in a fund management platform, Goldman Sachs, all his life, and he's made all of this amount of money that I'm talking about. He's married, he has got children, he's been doing all this amount of work. Now, a lot of people are wondering if he's going to survive the position of UK Prime Minister, especially where the economy of the UK is right now. Everything has plunged down, but I know when you have an Indian man at the top of anything, I'm sure you're highly likely going to see a lot of improvement in whatever that he's given to do that. I say this because here's the thing. Right now as we speak, there is a lot of Indian leaders in all the big global businesses and organizations. The CEO of now is an Indian. Microsoft is an Indian man. CEO of Adobe is an Indian. CEO of Twitter, Indian. CEO of Mastercard, Indian. CEO of Pepsi, Indian. CEO at IBM, Indian. CEO of Ableton's, Indian. At Micron, Indian. NetApp, Nokia, Palo Alto, Arista, Novaris, now UK. All of them are Indians. That should talk volumes to you as Botswana. Because when we are talking about knowledge-based economy and exporting knowledge, this is the perfect picture of what you're talking about. We need to see Botswana leading because of their knowledge in the rest of the world. Now, I know we have a big story again that's happening here, which is going to be the basis, our main story today, which is one of the things that I put on my social media. If you're watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, wherever, I want you to go, after this show to go and read the post that I put out that we have. But before we go into the main story, I'm going to take a quick break. When you come back, we're going to be diving into the nicest part of the show. I hope you're enjoying. Please do put and comments on the chat below, and I'll be able to address them when you come back. We'll be right back.
Let's find new ways to make dreams possible. Whether you are dreaming about starting a new business, securing a good future for your family, buying a new home, or owning a new car, your dream becomes real the moment you believe it can be. Go ka kgonega with Stanbic Bank Botswana. Your dreams matter.
Meaningful sponsorships improve lives. That's why we create and support initiatives that make a real difference by engaging, inspiring, and uplifting communities. It's just one of the ways Holland ensures better futures.
Let's continue with the show and let's look at our main story, which originates right here in the Republic of Botswana. There's a gentleman I put out on social media. His name is Jujuvine. I know you might probably asking yourself the questions of, okay, what's his real name? That's a really good question because I've never really known Jujuvine's real names. But here's the thing. I want to talk about Jujuvine today because he's going to help part of have these conversations that we are having today. He's a person that has become a good inspiration for us as a country, and I think it's fitting that we dedicate today's show, this part of the segment, specifically to talk about him as a person and the lessons that we need to have concerning him as an individual. Now, I first met Jujuvine in 2017. I mean, in person. I've known him all my life. There used to be this, video clips and audios that you would listen to. Some of them are not really nice. talk about them now. I am born again now. I can't talk about those videos. But those times when I was growing up, those videos, the voiceover. Now, he grew because here's the thing that you have to always talk about here is the growth and the improvement of where people come from. One of the things that I think we don't really appreciate quite well here in this Republic of Botswana is the consistency of people that have carried all these different industries for so many years, and we don't appreciate them enough to talk about them boldly, to tell them that they inspire us and they have done so much work in increasing this community that we have of inspiring people. Now, Jujivine is one of those people that even in the time where there was no social media whatsoever, their names were able to penetrate into our lives and we're able to learn from them. And the reason we have a lot of them today, like him, many of their journeys trace back to one man, and that's Jujivine. And today we'll take time to talk about him. Now, I put out a story out on my Facebook, on my LinkedIn, and I was talking about him because here's the thing. There was a picture that you saw, I think my team will put out for you to see it. There was this picture that of him, and he's holding, onions, and he's holding all of this in the bus rank. And he's been around because for those of you who follow him closely, you probably know this. He has a farm where he farms. This is a family man primarily. He's a family man, he's a comedian, he's a leader, he's an entrepreneur, and he's trying the best that he can to establish himself in the business today. And when we're doing this show, we're not saying that he is a successful entrepreneur whatsoever. No. The most important highlight that I want us to start first with is his work in building a lot of more young people that we see. Globally acclaimed people that he has built by himself. The first time I saw him in Jamaica, for example, was in his video. Now, it's very easy when you are in your prime and there's another potential guy that could potentially replace you in your career and you choose not to help them. And I think this is the case when we see a lot of people that are talking about how they try to ask for help from this and person, they were not helping them, they were asking for mentorship and all of that, they were closing down doors for them. And as much as we talk about those, we also need to talk about those that sits down to say, hey, wherever I'm going to get the opportunity, I'm going to bring you along as well. So we have seen people like Jujivine doing this, and it's very exciting to see this, and it's important that we have to talk about it. And as a person who is also a farmer, in this, I'll talk about this later, about what this actually means and what is the future of this kind of markets. Because markets all around the world are changing. Things, because of COVID, have changed how they are. They've been big businesses that were not really penetratable. We look at how they were bullying small businesses, you're looking at how they were doing all of this. And the big question we always ask ourselves is, what does it really mean for Botswana to be closing down all of this, for coming in, and how policy framework at small businesses to be able to penetrate? But what was the picture before then? And what is it going to, what's going forward? Because for some of you that when you saw this, people are saying, hey, the vegetables can't come in. I was like, oh, we win. But here's the thing. There is more of the same businesses that are currently planting their own vegetables locally here. I know you could be like, yeah, we're going to get more jobs. Yeah, it is. But here's this is about the market share that entrepreneurs are going to enjoy. But anyway, I say this and I do this show because I need to talk about it to celebrate the life of Jujivine and everything that he has actually done up until this very moment. Number one, I want to talk about his selflessness, as I already said, how he opened his heart to be able to help people, to know how they can be able to know that even themselves, for opening the doors that he's actually opened for those young people in there. So I want to talk about this because it moves me to see those kind of people investing in other young people. And I think when we look at people like him, we don't measure them in the right amount of quantity, because what we use their successes of what they have achieved, tangibly, materially, because of the question of all the hard work they've done for themselves. What have they built for themselves? I say this because kingmakers like him, their purpose in their life wasn't necessarily to acclaim any forms of success to themselves. Of course, they have to sustain themselves and even if they make $1 billion pula, their lives are worth more than that $1 billion pula, because the greatest assignment in their lives is to build more kings. And this is why one wise man once said this, that don't measure a man's impact by how many people are clapping hands for him. And most of us, we always do that. But he said we should measure the impact of a man by how many people do we clap hands for because of that man. So ask yourself today, if Jujubine was a country, was a nation, and he had an economy, how much will that economy be worth? And what items would we put in his economy? Are we going to put the things that he has achieved by himself, or does that economy comes with other different people involved in it? How many people has he allowed to be, not even allowed, helped to actually go to the levels of successes that he has already achieved? So in our main story today, we want to cover this and talk about this because it's very important. I want to move into farming, small-scale farming, and what does it really mean for the economy of Botswana. And I want to encourage young people as much as I can to know and believe this to be the truth, that the future of Botswana's economy is agriculture. The future of Botswana's businesses and successes is still agriculture. It's farming. We as a country, I think there was a time when we did the Independence show, I was talking about this, that the first budget speech that was given, the budget of the country at the time was worth 24,000 pula, and people were like, how is the people surviving at that particular time? Because it is our mindset that tells us that the government needs to have more money because the government has to take care of us. But the difference here is, during that time in 1960, when Botswana had 500,000 people, the way in which they were surviving, they were not surviving because the government was doing anything for them. They had subsistence farming that they were doing. People were farming at household level. They kept cows, they were plowing, they had their farms, they did all of that. So when they were eating things that they were processing and buying branded from different shops, they were eating things that they were plowing for themselves. So when first president talked about this and even put it on the back of every coin that we have in the coat of arm, is saying it was to drive us to really seeing the importance and the value of subsistence farming. I know we talk about this a lot, like, no, Botswana needs to get to farming levels where we're doing high level capital and all of that, where we are able to even retail, export and all of that. But the key thing here is, do we have the ability to produce enough first to sustain ourselves? And I see ourselves going back the same route, to where we are going to be able to be sustaining ourselves by different economies. Now, I want to tell you a quick story so that you can really understand what I'm talking about. Let's go to China right now. China just re-elected, their favorite president. And this president, you know him, Xi Jinping. He has been president of China. I think this is the second term for Xi Jinping. Now, look at this, and I want to show you, it's very important for you to understand. Now, Xi Jinping, the president of China, he vows of world dominance by the year 2049. He vowed so. Now, when China was actually putting him in to say we want to take another term, it's kind of like how Russia has been voting for, Vladimir Putin for all these years, because China has a plan of what they want to achieve. The vision is very clear of what they want to do with this. If you're asking yourself questions, basic knowledge about what China really is, so that you get to see why this is very important for us to also think in the same manner. Here's the thing. China itself, it has a population of about 1.4 billion people. That's relatively the same amount, same population as the population of Africa. The GDP of the country itself, it's 17.3 trillion US dollars. Now, that's a big economy. Here's the thing. China's economy and everything else that makes it run is based on two things. Number one, large-scale capital investments. The amount of money that China itself as a country is investing both in different markets and also in different nations around the world. I know you've seen this so many years, especially in Africa, when China was giving out loans in infrastructure development of different countries, taking over different markets, and so on and so forth. This is the guaranteed future of China's influence in the economy of different markets around the world. Number two, China has invested heavily on rapid growth or rapid production growth. Everything now made in China, automating all of this. You talk about cell phones, cars, every single thing. All of those is China is doing. Now, this on its own has its own influence and impact that is going to be felt all around the world. I'm not saying this from a negative connotation of, hey, China now is going to take over. If they can, they should. I mean, that's exactly how the capitalist market works. But the question that I want to ask you here is, when these countries like this, with all of these decisions that they've made to say this is the way they're going to take the country, what is the decision that you are making today as a country, as a nation, of what you want to see in the same year, 2049? What would be an average net worth of a Motswana in 2049? When you're talking about upper middle income, when you're talking about entrepreneurship development, the business development, your citizens owning businesses, when you're talking about farming, when you're talking about production, when you're talking about this, what is the future of all of this that you're doing as a country in the next 10, 20 years? Now, the reason why we have to have the mindset that looks beyond just us sustaining ourselves, but building sustainably with a vision and also understanding where the world is going. It's very important for us because it's going to help us in a lot of things that has to deal with us surviving first as a nation and also as a country. Now, I want to talk to small-scale entrepreneurs here because you look at yourself, you look at the one plant that you have behind your house, you look at your single 50 puller that you have, you look at all of this and you ask yourself the same question of how do we compete in a market like this with big giants like China coming into our country, look with all of this and all of that. Here's what I want to talk to you about. When we used to talk about disruption years before, we used to talk about disruption, when it comes to tech. We talk about disruption when it comes to how more innovative solutions are coming into place and all of that. Disruption is like what you learned in chemistry when we're talking about, thinking substitutional reaction, when a better thing comes, it displaces whatever that it found there. And this continually is going to happen in the world of business. But the thing that we always have to find for ourselves to know what we have to do is to know how this disruption is going to affect us as a country. Disruption first from the mindset of how we think about the future of the world. Disruption in how we think about how things need to be done, how technology is going to drive, how the economies are going to be driven, and so on and so forth. The way in which we think matters because that's the same mindset that is going to drive everything else that we're going to do. And one of the things I want to talk about mindset-wise is how we have taught ourselves that when a product exists in a big retail store, that's when it has a much bigger value that we need to associate ourselves with. And the thing that you are doing here is you are forcing producers and farmers and everyone to produce fresh produce, and you want them to take them to retail stores so that you can go and buy them there with a markup. And I'll give you an example with myself as an author. When I produce my books, like this book right here, there's an amount of money in which I have to spend on this. And I will not give you the figure for other reasons. But for argument's sake, let's say I print this book for 70 pula per copy. And I sell it for 199, which I do. That one is true. If you buy this book from me, the only cost I have is the $70 that it costs me to print it. The rest is my net profit. But if for whatever reason that you have, you want you to buy this book from a bookstore, what you don't know is put this that charging me 40% of the selling price. Now, $100 worth of 199 already goes to that bookstore. And what is it that they do? They just put it on the shelf, and you get there, and then you get it, engrave it, and then you buy it, and then you go. But after all of that transaction has been made, $70 is going to go to my printer. $100 is going to go to the bookstore. How much will be left for me? Something less than $30. Now I'll make $30 per copy of the book that I'm going to sell. And in your mind, you are thinking that because you've bought this book on a bookstore, you are supporting local and you are supporting small businesses, and you are buying as much as you can and you are supporting us and you are growing. But the truth of the matter here is putting these books on the bookstores doesn't solve the current problems that we have. You want us to have these books in bookstores, just like other big authors from around the world, because it looks like something that is of prestige, and it looks like something that we need to do for us to grow as authors. But if I asked you to buy this book from me directly, it looks like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like I'm doing something of a lesser quality. I need to be found in bookstores. In fact, people have the gravity of even mentioning big bookstores to have your book there. And the connotation here is not in the concern that they have to say you need to be growing, to be selling in these platforms. The concern here is we think you are not there yet if you don't sell in these bookstores. And that's the mindset that we have. And we have the same mindset with everyone. A farmer that does, onions like Jujuvine, if you don't find his onions in a certain retail store, there's a level of quality that you associate his onions with. An author that comes to you directly and say, here is what I'm selling, there is a level of quality that you are associating to that person. At the back of your mind, you would rather go to a shop because for whatever reason that you have, you think you are still supporting small-scale entrepreneurs. Now, when we're talking about the reset agenda and we're talking about the mindset change and value chain development, here's why this is very important. You need to realize that the more you buy directly from everyone who's producing, especially when they are a citizen and they are young in this country, the best way to support them is if you buy from them directly. And it shouldn't even occur in your mind that when you buy something of theirs in a bookstore, it is more helpful for them to buy there than if you were to buy from them directly. Because like I gave you this illustration, if I print this for $70 and I sell it for $199, which is like $200, the bookstore is going to want 50%, and that's $100. And then when the transaction is over, the print man gets his $70, and the bookstore gets the $100, but I'll be left with $30. But if you buy from me directly, I make $130 per every single unit of this copy that I sell. Now, I say all of this because I know how it feels, especially for us who would be trying to encourage entrepreneurs and so on and so forth. And yet we have institutionalized certain laws and practices that limit small businesses from growing. I talked about this in some recent videos where there was a time I took a trip to Mokoloji. Should be back in 2013 or 14. And we were on a tour guide there, and this guy, we were doing a game drive. We were going around the bush, couldn't see animals. So the guy started teaching us about trees, which trees comes from where and all of that. So we got to this place where there was like very big tall trees that were happening there. And they were really nice, like oak tree sort of. There was like long stems and a canopy. It was very cool outside. Now he asked us the question of, do we notice what's happening to the vegetation around or underneath those trees? And I could realize that there was like small shrubs and small grasses and so on and so forth. I was wondering why there was no other similar trees growing from around it. So he taught us a concept and he called it encroaching, which is the highest growth of trees that they grow as stems, but then they build a canopy at the top. Now what they do is they are the only ones that grows because they're directly rooted into the soils down there. Their roots are well established, but they're the only tallest ones that are able to reach the sunlight that's coming from the top. But because of their structure, the roots are taking all the nutrients and all the water that's in the soil, but they're also stopping the other vegetations from the sun rays from reaching them because they've built a canopy at the top. Now, the moment he talked about this, it felt to me as if he's describing the economic climate of our own country in that particular time, where we have all these big businesses, well established. They are both rooted and they also have encroached themselves at the top. Now, small businesses who are trying to subcontract and are doing all of this, trying out different products, they cannot survive because they're in a climate that no matter how hard you try, you can't. And I ask myself the question, is this so? We, the consumers, are the people that literally, just like voters during elections, that determine who is. the election or the market share. We determine who we buy from because no one is actually, putting you on gunpoint and asking you to buy from them. You made that choice to go to that shop. And this is the same choice that you can make when it concerns supporting small-scale businesses. Admire, bold moves in trying to preserve certain markets, so that at least the amount of tenders are being protected and also preserved for young people, for women, for this, for that. These are efforts that are commendable. But the biggest thing that we need to do is to change the mindset of ourselves as consumers in how we want to relate with entrepreneurs. The level of growth that you want them to be in for us to be able to buy from them, they will never reach it because they need the money that we have to be able to do so. They need amount of traffic and traction that will only come if we were able to support them in ways that we have to. Now, I want to encourage entrepreneurs out there to say, there's nothing wrong to start small, even in a market encroached with very big businesses. Because even if you're not going to be able to create a product that is intelligent enough to disrupt the ones that are already existing, there's something else that you can actually disrupt that big businesses cannot do, and that's called the business model disrupting. You may not change what it is that you are selling, but if you had to change how you sell what you are selling, you might be in luck. Now, this is the reason why I wrote my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Act Like a Prostitute. Because the question here is, all of us, including you watching this, or including you who's going to listen to this at a later stage, all of us, we all sell a part of ourselves with the world every day. People that are intentional about selling themselves, and they know what they are doing, and these ourselves who sell ourselves, but you don't even know this. The question here is, are we selling ourselves the right way? Big businesses know how they are selling themselves. Small-scale entrepreneurs, some of them they do know, others they don't. But there are people participating in this economy and they don't even know that they are doing so. Yet they are the most powerful people that determines who win the market share because they're the ones who buy. Now my charge or my challenge to you here is, let's reconsider how we sell certain things because the opportunity lies there. If I choose to stand in a bus rank with my products or with my book, I think there was a time, I had this inspiration. I took my books and some of my boys, we went to the traffic lights in Gap City and we were selling the books just on traffic. People were literally, they were flying into the books and all of that. But here's the thing. Later that evening, I saw how many people took me pictures in those traffic lights and they were posting articles and captions and all of that. Wow, look at this young man pushing, driving, doing the wow. And I wished the same number of people that posted and shared my picture saying wow, they had the same $200 in their pockets to buy the book, but they didn't choose to buy it because what inspires them more is the picture and my move to go to the traffic light. The same way if you've been seeing Gigi Ryan in the bus rank and you took him pictures, but you didn't buy his onions. You think you are supporting him because you are posting him, but there's a highest level of support that you can give. Now, this is the same question that I asked when I was interviewing V. Mampize, I think 2-3 years ago, that a lot of Botswana would rather dance to your music as long as it's free. But if you were to put a price to it and put it on iTunes or in a CD, let's count how many people will come and buy that CD. But the other thing that I need to talk about is how there's been a shift over the years. And there's more people today that are comfortable with supporting small-scale entrepreneurs, citizens that are trying the best that they can. I know big people, Deborah Lebotsa, for example, I talk about her for a second. She's one of those people who have every right to buy from all of these stores that she can afford to, but she chooses to support small-scale entrepreneurs. Ms. GK's, for example, single day. No week that Ms. GK's wouldn't show me or a piece of clothing or art or book, something that she has bought from a local person. There's more. I mean, there's a lot of them. And if we're to do this, not because we're supporting, but because we see the vision of how we would build these small-scale entrepreneurs to become large-scale, to give them the resources that they need to scale their businesses to different markets and sizes so that they can be able to take over, not only export, but take over enough to build household products and services that we can be proud of. That's how we build the economy. Now, value chain development is going to be so easy the moment we start valuing the value that other people are generating. Because when we do so, we also realize the values that we need to play in helping each other to arrive to where we have to go to. The branding people, when they see Juju Vine selling the onions, need to think, how do we brand those onions in a way in which they will be more appealing to other different parts of markets? Some of the people that see him with those onions need to ask themselves the questions of how do we make these onions available to our other community that we can sell directly to in other parts where we are at. And the fuel people, the airtime people, the people, the tech shop people, all of that, with that one onion, we can all participate in this economy. And that's exactly what a value chain is. Stop thinking the jobs. Start thinking the structures that can exist because of one man deciding to say, I'm going to go to my farm and do this. Why don't we allow Juju Vine to focus on farming in his farm, because that's what he does best. And the rest of us see how we can get his onions to as many people as possible. The moment we think like this, you will see how small in quantity onions are. More other farmers need to get into the same thing. And all of us, when we specialize in what we are good at, then we are able to make an impact and drive an economy that is by Botswana for Botswana. And when you say we're united and proud, we actually mean it. We are not saying it with some form of guilt in our hearts. When we say we support our local entrepreneurs, we don't mean sharing that. It's great, by the way. But much more than that, beyond just the access, but into the impact. So this is what I'm pleading for. That if you can, you have it in your power to make a difference in this manner. Let's consider doing this. Now, I want to take a quick break. When you come back, we're going to say our goodbye. But before then, we'll look at your comments and your questions. And if there be any that we need to be able to address here on the show, we will do so. We'll be right back.
For all of life's big and small moments, Temper Hollard Insurance Botswana. Our wide range of insurance products guaranteed to get you and your loved ones back on track when life hits a short left. Better futures start with Hollard.
Let's find new ways to make dreams possible. Whether you are dreaming about starting a new business, securing a good future for your family, buying a new home, or owning a new car, your dream becomes real the moment you believe it can be. Khutsafalo with Stanbic Bank Botswana. Your dreams matter.
Meaningful sponsorships improve lives. That's why we create and support initiatives that make a real difference by engaging, inspiring, and uplifting communities. It's just one of the ways Hollard ensures better futures.
For all of life's big and small moments, Temper Hollard Insurance Botswana. Our wide range of insurance products guaranteed to get you and your loved ones back on track when life hits a short left. Better futures start with Hollard.
Find new ways to make dreams possible. Whether you are dreaming about starting a new business, securing a good future for your family, buying a new home, or owning a new car, Your dream becomes real the moment you believe it can be. Go ka kgonega with Stanbic Bank Botswana. Your dreams matter.
All right, let's look at social media comments, questions and comments. If you have any already, I'm going to look at LinkedIn right now, and then I'm also going to look for Facebook. Please do put your questions and comments right now. You can only address them during the live show right now. We have the next 120 seconds to do so. But already we have some people who already commented right here. You can also send them on the SMS line that you are seeing displayed to you down there. There's a comment primarily which is from Lucas Piri, which is weird. Okay, my team knows why I'm saying this. So he also knows why I'm saying this. Okay, so let's go to Tuso Beni Masure, who says, thank you, Khutsafalo, for bringing this up. And would also like to thank Palisa for being the person she is. She's amazing. Her friendliness her friendliness that brought her to bring the Miss World to our country is a wow. Thankful for the entrepreneur that is in her. We will continue to learn from her. To Miss Botswana 2022, the Chombo Mudimo ki our queen. I'm in prayer with you as you bring the world to BW. No pressure. Keep believing in God. And Emela calls the Khutsafalo go fishing the mentors. All right, thank you. I think he has said so much. We nearly Nyolo Angel says, wow, this is nice. Epitome of the change. And there's a lot of you who are sending the same kind of messages. The same is true with LinkedIn. People who are sending their own praise. Thank you for being fans and supporters of this show. It's amazing to see your live interactions with us when you are live on the show. This is really amazing. I don't know if you have time to go look at YouTube, but every one of you who's that you are watching on Twitter, you are watching on Facebook, you are watching on YouTube, all of your comments, really appreciate all of them. But that's our show tonight. And before we go, remember again, my book is still available. Go to Botswana Book Center. I know what I said, but you can go to Botswana Book Center and buy this book for $199. I also still deliver the same books to people all around the country. If you want a copy of this book, it's called Think Like an Entrepreneur, Act Like a Prostitute. I wrote this book myself. It's also available worldwide on Amazon. You can just go on Amazon and search for my name, Khutsafalo, or search for the name of the book, or just say prostitute. It'll come out, and then you get it. It's also $14 on Amazon. And then I know for some of you who've been asking a lot of questions, you've been talking about your other book. When is it coming out? I don't have the answer yet, but I suspect it may be any time before you know it. And other news I can't share with you until you see them on Facebook when they have already happened. But for now, let me thank my team here at Launch Studios, all of them, and also thank our partners, the Stanbic Bank of Botswana, and also thank our other people who are working with us from Hodite Life Insurance Company. All of these two companies and that have been a part of this journey, they're making it so easy for us to be able to bring you this production live every single Thursday evening. And for all of you who've always been a great supporter and fan of this production, you are always live with us, you are always watching this, you are applying what we are doing. Thank you for always watching this broadcast. And if you have more time, go to YouTube. We have more amazing videos that we produce from right here that we put out there for you so that you can be able to learn and so on and so forth. But from us and the rest of the team, we say that's our show for tonight. God bless you. Have a good night and asante sana.